All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Shaping School Culture, Powerful Strategies to Build Connections and Community. My name is Dawn McHatter, and I am the Curriculum and Instruction Senior Manager here at the Van Andel Institute for Education. I'm going to be walking you through today's topic for today. All the strategies and resources I'll be sharing are found in that handout. And then I will also add the link to the recording and the slides after the webinar. And I have with me my friend Robin. Hey there, Robin.
Hi, Dawn. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Robin is there behind the scenes, so if you run into any issues, go ahead and reach out to her in the chat. Today's webinar is brought to you by our Blue Apple projects. These are projects that are meant to engage students, teach the content your teachers need to teach, all while making the world a better place. And because you're watching this webinar live or you are viewing the recording, you can receive 20% off on all products and services from Van Andel Institute, including these Blue Apple projects. Before we jump into today's content, I'd like to find out who is with us today. So Robin's going to go ahead and open up a poll and just select which role represents kind of your leadership in the school or district that you serve. Robin, give a few seconds for that, and if you could let me know as those responses come in.
All right. All right, Dawn. So interesting enough, we are at 100% curriculum administrators.
Okay, fantastic. Excellent. Well, everything that I'm going to be sharing is going to be something that you can take back to your building, sharing with the different leaders within your district as well as your staff. So we're going to have a lot packed in our 25 plus minutes, but my goal is that you do leave with a couple of strategies, ideas in each one of these areas that you can share. So we're going to start off with culture, climate. I know I fall into this this trap as well. I use those terms interchangeably, but they're really not. They are two different things. So I just want to share with you very briefly that difference. So when we're talking about culture, culture of an organization is really those shared values, beliefs, norms, practices. It's that foundation. It's those people that make it up and bring in all those values and beliefs. It's deeply embedded. It evolves over time. It takes a lot to really change a culture, but you can make changes over the years to shape it in the way that you want. Now, climate is what you feel when you walk into a school. There's a perception. It's that current atmosphere or mood. Climate, unlike culture, can change very quickly. So even if you have a very positive culture, your climate may not be positive if there's something that has happened, if something that has changed the mood. Maybe over the last few years, we know climate has been changing because of some struggles and stresses that are with outside of our control. Or if your culture, for example, is not in line with your climate. So you have a culture, let's say, of innovation, but your teachers aren't necessarily provided maybe with the tools, the resources, or time to innovate. And that could start to erode the climate as well. So you think about climate, that's more of that day-to-day, that morale, that feeling, perception you have at the school, whereas the culture is that foundational piece, the people that bring in their values, beliefs, norms, the practices. And so I like to look at that as a more visual representation. A culture is not necessarily what you see, but it does influence your climate. But climate is definitely what you can see and feel as you are walking through a school or an organization. So we're going to focus on that foundation, that culture. And, as we're thinking about culture, we're also thinking about the people, because we want to make sure that we're bringing people into our schools that fit our culture, that they fit well with where we want to go, with our values, our beliefs, our norms. And so we want to build those connections between our people, our staff, our students, our leaders to our staff to help improve and to help eventually kind of shape that culture to keep moving forward to the goals that you have for your school and your district. And so it's really all about those connections, those relationships. And relationships are at the heart of any organization. And so let's start there. Let's start at the heart. And that's what we're going to do. And so I'd like to put up another poll, Robin, if you don't mind doing that. And we're thinking about connections, about relationships, thinking about your school, your district. Where do you want to improve most? Those connections? Is it between the leadership and staff, between staff, colleagues, students and staff, students between students, or students and our school and community? So Robin, go ahead and just give a few seconds for that. I think you could check more than one of those, I believe, as well. So what resonates with you? What are you looking for to improve?
All right, I'm closing it up. So it looks like the winner is student staff at 43%, followed by
Okay.
school community at 29%, and
Okay.
then student and leadership staff are both at 14%, and then staff is actually at 0%.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're going to really be taking a look at um, the kind of staff leadership first, and then we're going to dive into some student and staff um, and student to student relationships or connections, and then we'll end with community. So I'll make sure to really focus on those last two based upon those poll results here. So I may go a little bit faster through those first ones here as we share. Kind of those staff connections. You think about staff between your staff in your building, but also between the leadership and staff. And so the first big idea, and this is not revolutionary, but I wanted to throw it out there, is just really getting to know each other as a leader in your building, so that your staff knows you, and then they also can connect with you, and they can connect with each other. But a little disclaimer, it's more than those superficial kind of name games or icebreakers, and they have a time and place. I'm not hating on them at all, but it's definitely not the level of connection that we want if we want to really shape and build a culture. And so these are the three questions that I want to think about. It's like, really, how can we work together as staff and leadership? What are our similarities? What are our differences? And how can we really build off of the strengths of each other? And this is something that we really do and value here at Van Andel Institute. We make that a priority, and to really help build our culture is we want to know who it is we're working with, both in the leadership and also in the staff. And so we identify what are our strengths, what are our personality styles, how do we work, what are our perceptions. And so we do those assessments, and it is very, very helpful, especially because there is collaboration. Your teachers are working together in these PLCs and department level meetings, and they're making decisions and they're running ideas off of each other, and they really, to help them really understand who they're working with, it's so important to understand strengths and personalities to work cohesively and effectively. And so we do that as well. And you can see in that picture, that's actually posted right here on my desk. It shows my strengths and kind of some of those other personality tests. And we share that with each other to help us really understand how we work. And it's really important for staff to understand that about the leaders too, where they're coming from as well, because we're all working together, for the greater good. So really understanding strengths, personality styles is a really great way to start to get to know each other at a little bit deeper level. And all of these resources I put in the handout as well, so different assessments and things that nature. Another great way to get to know each other, both as staff and staff to leadership, is understanding your core values and sharing those out. And as a leader, it's important to know those, and your staff should know those as well. But it's important for staff to know each other's core values, because remember, values are what make up your culture. Okay, so values are those principles and beliefs that don't waver, and everyone has those core values that they're bringing in to your culture. It's a lens that we all use to make decisions. So, as in a leadership role, you are making decisions constantly, and so understanding your values personally is helpful in understanding your decision making, but also for your staff to see that as well. And then you have your school values as well. And these are just our institute values. I just wanted to share that as we all play a part in creating this culture and the values of the organization that we serve. And so how can you identify core values? Well, this is a great exercise, a really quick thing to do. It maybe at the beginning of a meeting, maybe you have a PD time or you have a staff meeting or PLC group where you could actually work on identifying your core values. And so I put this resource together. It's really quick, and these are 52 different values here. You can first take a look at it and just highlight the top 10 that just speak to you. And then from there, you can identify your top 5, or what I'm calling the non-negotiables. You can do a little bit different way of thinking on this. You can delete the 12 that you want to discard right away, that do not resonate. Then you'll have 40 left, and then you just keep deleting half and half and half until you're left with your top 5, again, those non-negotiables. So that's a really great activity for you and for your staff to do, to really understand each other and where each other is coming from in those different values that are making up our culture. Now, if you're more of a hands-on type of person like myself, I love a good card sort. These are those same 52 values, just put in card form, and they can be sorted by not important, important to very important. The goal is to get to those 5 non-negotiables in the very important and sharing those out. And this resource is in the handout as well. Obviously, getting to know each other is really important to understand what each other is doing, like our accomplishments. And as a leader in your school or district, providing those opportunities, making sure that you are affirming and doing different things to call attention to the incredible work that's happening, providing opportunities for shout outs, maybe during staff meetings, or just an email note either to the whole group or individually. Surprise sticky notes. I love doing that, just putting a little sticky note on the computer or a desk or underneath some papers that you know that they'll find, and just thanking them or celebrating accomplishments and copying good things. Maybe it's a newsletter you're highlighting. One of the things that I really loved was when the principal would come by with the treat cart, or the caught being good cart, or caught being awesome cart, and you get to pick treats from that. So celebrating teachers that are exemplifying your school core values and making a big deal about that, a celebration. And then finally, I wanted to share, this is something that we do here, and we highlight each month different things that are happening in different areas, of our programming. And I can see this working with different, grade level teams or PLCs or departments, where they're highlighting something and that's being shared out at either a staff meeting, or it's actually put into a school monitor if you have a monitor in your school, which rotates through different images as well. So just a thought to help celebrate accomplishments. And lastly, we want to make sure that we're always bringing the fun. I kind of mentioned the whole idea of like those games or getting to know you. Like those are still, there's a time and place for them, but we want to make sure that we're bringing in the fun here, and those games can certainly be part of that fun. How do we make sure that we're connecting also socially, not only getting to know each other professionally, but also in that personal social level. Okay, that was that getting to know you and each other. But now, as a leader, it's really important to make sure that your staff not only know you, as a person, as a professional, but also know your plan. What is your vision? What is your vision for your school? And so, one of the organizational theorists, leaders, Simon Sinek, I wanted to just share. He has this we call the vision test, and every vision in his mind and in his work should include these 3 things. It should be resilient, meaning it should be able to withstand any sort of changes, changes in tech, or if you lose funding, it shouldn't be tied to that. So it's something that can withstand any sort of changes. It's steady, it's stable. The second thing, it needs to be inclusive. So when I think about that, I think this is so important because you have many different types of staff that maybe they don't work necessarily directly with students every day, but they need to be just as inspired by your vision than what the teachers or those that work with students every day. All of your staff need to feel that they're a value contributor. Does your vision do that? And finally, your vision needs to be service oriented. Now, we can check that off because in K-12 education, the primary benefactor is our students. It's not the staff or the leadership. So that's the Simon Sinek vision test. So making sure that your staff is connected to your plan, your vision, and that you're communicating that, sharing that plan. And I pulled in Simon Sinek again because he has a great book. It's called Start with Why. And these are just a couple of quick videos that I linked in the handout. But it's all about sharing your why. It's one thing to have a vision, but it's all about how do you inspire your staff to buy into that vision or be excited about the vision, feel connected to that vision, share your why. What is the purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? Start with that. And so those videos do a good job of explaining what he calls that golden circle, starting with the why. So share your why. And then the final idea that I ran across reading, it was an ASCD article from an administrator, and I really kind of clutched onto this, is thinking about our meetings, whether they're the staff meetings, department meetings, professional development events, is how do teachers interact together as whole groups, kind of removing barriers and thinking about using circles. Now, circles are something that teachers use a lot in their classrooms, like for restorative practices or community building as well, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But bring those into those staff meetings, those opportunities to have teachers be on this level playing field. There isn't necessarily an administrator or that's in the front of the room and everyone is sitting, in rows in the back of the room, and have them be involved. Have a circle keeper, whether it is you as an admin or someone else, and a talking piece using your mascot. For example, my daughter's mascot is a bulldog, so pass around your mascot in that circle. It's a great strategy to use to get to know each other, to connect your teachers together, to connect them with the leadership, to help them think about maybe some problems, things that are specific to the school, or just really share things that are happening in their classroom. Now, granted, this does take time. So think about different ways of doing this. Is this something that can be done in their smaller groups? And you assign, a circle keeper and give them different questions, prompts to answer. And so I did put together a resource here. This is a staff circle prompt examples. So this is just a great tool to use and to help facilitate those types of the circles in your staff meetings. So let me do that. All right, so we are done now talking about kind of building those staff connections between each other and the staff to leadership. Robin's going to put open a poll, but which of these ideas might you consider when you're trying to build those staff connections? Getting to know each other, strengths, your core values, personally having that fun, getting to know your plan, making sure that you as a leader, you're sharing your vision, but most importantly, you're sharing your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And you're providing opportunities to kind of remove that hierarchy and empowering, giving teachers that agency in different meeting opportunities. All right, Robin, where are we at?
All right, we are gonna close it now. So it looks like all ideas will be considered, but the leader is at 67%, removing the hierarchy.
Great.
Followed by getting to know your plan at 50%, and then getting to know each other at 33%.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and I love that that hierarchy, like it's just something that really connected with me, and it's something I definitely want to use for sure. So great, excellent. Okay, now we are going to get to those student connections, and I know that's something that by the survey we had at the beginning, something that was some you wanted to look at. So the first big idea, and some of you may have already started school, and so maybe you're on your first, second week or so, or maybe you're starting very soon. But we really want to start on day one, right? And so I want you to think about, and I just want to pose this question: how are your students greeted that first day or week? And I was doing a little research and kind of looking at different schools and what they're doing during those first weeks and days of school. I mean, do you roll out the red carpet for your students and form this tunnel? Is there a drum line? Is it, do the teachers or administrators dress up? Is there a tradition like ringing a bell? And what is it that you do that makes your students, when they come in, it's like feel valued, feel included, that they are a part of this bigger community within your school? That first week, are there assemblies that are happened? Are these, I know one article I read, this high school, they did a club rush. So during the week they went through these different kind of stations and tried to figure out what they wanted to sign up for to be a part of as well. So how are you doing that first day, first week of school? All right, so that's the first big idea, thinking about you as school leaders. What are you doing to making sure that your students feel connected that first day they walk in to the school? The second big idea here is that kind of that student to staff type of community building or connections. And it's encouraging your teachers to incorporate community building lessons. Those rules, the syllabus, those things, they are important. They're things I know you want your teachers to share, but there are different ways to do that. You can build community while you're sharing that, through modeling and helping your students feel connected on day one, or just holding off on some of those things that maybe you would have started the school year with, and making sure that your students know that the teachers value a classroom community just as much as the content, regardless if you're a kindergarten or a 12th grade classroom. So we put together intentional community building lessons, and I'm just going to click on this here just to give you a little peek into what that is. This is linked in the handout. This is a free resource. Please feel free to share it with your teachers. But there are 5 lessons here. This is actually one of our leading, we call these timely topics, but our leading lessons, because we know building community is so important. So we have 5 different lessons. 2 of them, the model behavior and crafting our classroom, have to do with kind of building those expectations with the students in a very inquiry engaging way. We have collaborative activities like the baboon's dilemma, engineering trust. It's all about learning how to work together and the power of collaboration and cooperation, and then learning from each other. It's called that made for me. It's just really getting to know each other, getting to know interests and things like that, and again, in a creative way. This is grade banded K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8, but I would argue as a former high school teacher that you can definitely take the 6, 8 and flex it up to make it work in a high school setting. Along with building those classroom communities and encouraging our teachers to do that, intentionally incorporating those into those first few weeks, we have another strategy here. Again, it's linked in the handout, free resources of just different, these aren't necessarily lessons, these are different strategies that a teacher can bring in that could take maybe 10 minutes, 15 absolute max to do. And so one of my favorite ones here, and you can use this with staff because I've done that both with teachers and with students, it's called still standing. So I wanted to highlight this one because it's super fun. You give everyone an index card when they come in. They have to write 4 things. One thing they have in common with most people in the room, one thing they have in common with some of the people, one thing they have in common with just a few, and something that's unique to them. You gather all the cards, and then at random, you just pull a few, and you do this, and you kind of do this at subsequent meetings. You pull other cards, but you have everyone stand, and then you read the first thing, And then the people that does not connect with, they sit down, you read the second, then people sit, the third, people sit, and then finally you're left with that one person. So it's just a fun way to build that community and get to know each other, be connected. And so this resource is all full of great building classroom community. Again, quick and easy hitting strategies to make our students feel connected, to make them feel valued, and to make them feel like they're a part of something. And then finally, I wanted to bring back our community building circles because I know a lot of you like that for staff. Well, we know these work in the classroom. These are research-based in restorative practices, but really in any community building, circles are a great way to build that from day one, whether it's a morning meeting and everyone's sitting on the floor and the teacher is a circle keeper, or you're in smaller collaborative groups and the students are someone's assigned to be a circle keeper and they're answering questions to prompts that the teacher provides. There's a video here. It's a great video to share with your teachers. Again, that's linked there, so please feel free to do that. And I did create another prompts for student circles. Now, this probably more of a maybe upper L, middle school, higher level, so it can be flexed up or down based upon the grade level of the students. But these are just great prompts that you can give to your circle keeper and have them work through those as they're building community in the classroom, those connections to each other, but also to the teacher, which is so very important to do. Okay, so we talked about some student connections. Robin, if you wanted to quick open up that poll, which of these ideas will you consider when building those connections? Think about your whole school, that first week of school activities. What do you do to make sure your students feel a part of the school? Pep assemblies, is there a red carpet? Is there a drum line? What are those intentional community building things that you're going to encourage your teachers to do those first few weeks? So it's not all content. It's all about building that rapport, and the content will come. And again, those community circles. So what do we have, Robin?
All right. So it looks like, again, all ideas will be considered. But the leaders at the top, first day, first week school activities, and intentional community building lessons, both at 43%, excellent. And community circles at 14%.
Okay, fantastic, great. So these are all things that you can share with back at your buildings and to help with building those communities. All right, community connections. Now I know I'm low on time, so I'm going to go through some things to help, some resources here. So we want our students to be equipped with the tools needed to solve the world's most pressing problems, but how do we know what those are without engaging our community? And so our community can help us. And so my first big idea is to make sure we're involving our community. We're moving them from an awareness to a contribution, meaning they're not only aware what's going on, they're actually contributing partners within our schools through surveying them. What are their needs? What are they seeing? How can they help? Interviewing business leaders. What are they seeing that we need to bring into our schools, and forming a community advisory council that can be a part of your school improvement planning. It can help you guide your district and meet your vision. Making sure you're communicating your vision, just like you're doing with your staff. You're sharing your why with your community, and you're communicating your school plan in a clear, succinct, engaging way as well, and providing opportunities for them to be a part, again, of that planning. Third step, this is a little bit more kind of specific, is really diving into what are those community resources that you have available. So we do this with teachers we work with when they're trying to bring in real world experts in the classroom. We give them this spreadsheet, and they fill in like people that they know in the community that could come in and help. And we create this big resource that's then shared with everybody in the school or the district, depending upon what it is. So creating a list is really, really good, and using your staff to help you do that, using your parents. You can also create a community resource map. This is another tool that you can use to really pinpoint what are those different community resources that we can connect with. Not only connect our students to, outside of school, but also how can we bring those community resources into our classrooms to bring in those real world experts, which is so very important. And that's something that we value here a lot in our programs. Instead of just learning about ecosystems and diversity and doing all those scientific investigations, which is really important, which we do with our after school students, but empowering them to make a difference. And so they actually made a difference to the urban park that's right next to our building by learning about different problems in the ecosystem, engaging with the real world experts from community, sustainability experts, and then pitching their solution. The two winning groups, you can see in that picture at the bottom, their solutions were then put into place. Actually, right now it's happening. And so it's really cool to see we're bringing in these experts and making a difference in the community, and the students feel that connection to their community and that sense of purpose and meaning in the work that they're doing. So I'm going to zip through that, and I just wanted to just remind you that every connection matters. Relationships matter, every connection matters. Students, staff, community, and that will help shape our culture and move us to where we want to be. So I wanted to thank you so much for hanging in with me this afternoon. To thank you, we have, again, that 20% discount on any product or services, professional development, those Blue Apple projects. You can go to our website to find out more, but also have an opportunity for you to win a free lunch and learn, where we would provide lunch and learn on a PD topic of your choice. If you fill out the survey at the end of this webinar, when it closes down, your name will be in that drawing, and we will reach out to you if you won. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I wish you the best in this upcoming school year. Thanks for everything you do. Bye, everyone.